This is Josh Z, Terrible Otaku. Today we are discussing Absolute Batman, one of DC's newest big sellers, kind of an alternate universe take on Batman that's been pretty popular from what I understand. The first issue, the #1, was the best-selling single comic last year in America. I think like 200,000 copies. It's pretty good nowadays. I'm just going to be discussing my thoughts, ideas about this reinvention of the character. Obviously, Batman's, everyone knows him, been around for almost 100 years at this point. There's tons of various alternate universe and all these crazy takes on him that some of you have all seen. Some of them, from the cartoons to like the movies. This one is basically the early 2000s when Marvel did the Ultimate Universe, the original incarnation. It was, attempting to, I think, reach out to millennials and people that were coming of age to try and get them into comics, to reinvent the characters as younger, more relatable type kind of people for them. This is kind of like that kind of a thing with the DC characters, but I would say for Gen Z-ish, or maybe a little younger type kind of thing. It's definitely got a lot of that vibe to it, where it tries to be kind of edgy and cool and all that, but it has a very distinctly, I would say, a bit of a socio-political flair that Batman typically didn't have a ton of. It's definitely evident in this one, but I think it works for the comic. It kind of vibes with it. In this version, in this incarnation of Bruce Wayne, right, instead of being a rich guy, he's a working class type kind of person. His dad was a school teacher, grew up in like a middle class household kind of thing. His dad gets gunned down. They're visiting a zoo on a field trip that Bruce did, a like kind of a science fair contest type kind of won a thing for the class to go there, and the dad gets gunned down. And so it's, of course he blames it on himself and like he brought this, and that kind of ends up snowballing eventually into becoming Batman type kind of thing. Besides being middle class, the character's kind of different in this version. His best friends growing up are like his villains, basically, from the old ones. Penguin, Catwoman, the Riddler, Killer Croc. Basically, that was like his crew growing up, so they're his buddies. None of them as of yet that we've seen are superpowered like they become, or, mutated or whatever, different, deformed. Those are his people growing up, so it's kind of like he comes from a different vibe, and there's definitely more of an air in this book of the whole, class conflict kind of thing with rich versus poor type kind of thing that's in here for sure. But I enjoy it. I think it's pretty interesting. Besides his origins, this first run arc is called The Zoo, based off the zoo where his dad gets gunned down. And it's the first 5 issues. I don't think the trade paperback comes out till like August or something like that, August 25, so it'll be a little bit. Besides the origins, the comic covers emergence as like he's starting to get attention in Gotham and people are starting to notice him because he's middle class. Alfred is not his butler. He's this bounty hunter / hitman type kind of thing that has him going around and like, taking people out and trying to overthrow dictators and that kind of thing. And he gets sent into Gotham to investigate stuff and ends up being drawn in and meeting Batman and stuff. And they're kind of frenemies at this point, but I'm sure as it progresses, they'll get to know each other better and all that stuff. And so Batman's going about. He's definitely an interesting take on the character. In this version, he's his first villain take on the Black Mask. He has a crew called the Party Animals that are just going around terrorizing Gotham and killing people, blowing stuff up. Batman's getting in there to try and stop all the chaos, and it's a very interesting. I think it's an engrossing kind of thing. It holds your attention. Some of how he's giant and everything, how he's drawn, seems definitely inspired by the whole Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns type kind of vibe. It shows, he's pursuing them and trying to take Black Mask out and working all the angles, and he gets a little information from Alfred here and there, and the cops and everybody's kind of all working together with the politicians because they're trying to get rid of Batman too, because, he's a vigilante and he's dangerous and all that. Kind of typical Batman stuff. Commissioner Gordon is the mayor in this incarnation. His mom, infamous Martha, did not get killed off in this incarnation. She wasn't at the zoo with them, so she's still alive. He's still in touch with his mom. Overall, the art's really good. I enjoy it a lot. The 4th issue kind of threw me a little bit. The first 3 are all drawn by the same guy, and then the 4th was a different artist, so that threw me off a little bit, but once you kind of get used to it, you're like, okay, this is pretty good still. I would say across all 4 of these issues so far, it's pretty good art. The only thing I don't far like in this incarnation, Batman was always suspension of disbelief, because like he's, like a ninja that's trained in every art and unstoppable and has a genius level intellect. So it was always a little bit out there, But he had all this money, so he's rich, he has like millions or whatever. You're kind of like, oh, okay, I can buy it. Like, maybe it is a little outrageous, but you could kind of understand, like, maybe that could happen. And in this version, as of yet, the character does not have a bunch of money. They explain it as how he did everything and how he got all his abilities was he studied jujitsu and all the different martial arts and everything. He got a scholarship because he's so buff. He got a scholarship to go to college and then didn't really play any football stuff and just used it to learn all the factors and sectors of how Gotham runs. He got jobs in like the public sector and in the private sector and all the different parts of government and the infrastructure in the city so that he could learn how everything works together. They even have a scene where he's, you know, he gets in a fight with these guys, I think at City Hall, and they blow up a bunch of stuff. And like the next day, he's part of the construction crew rebuilding the stuff they blew up. I get what they're going for. Like, he's trying to be the good guy and typical incarnation of Batman. Some people have criticized him for being like he's just beating people up and not always addressing the root causes of the problems. And so they're trying to make it, like I said, a little bit more socio-politically relevant with being like he is trying to address the root cause of the problems and not just be mindlessly beating up everyone. It's interesting. I like it so far, but it's a little bit like out there because you're like, there's no way. I think he's supposed to be 24, 21 years old. There's no way anybody could have accomplished all the stuff he has accomplished at this point. It's insane. Like I said, he's already mastered all the stuff. He has a genius level intellect. He built this project for the science fair, the one that got them the trip to the zoo, that like if this thing actually existed, he could probably sell like a patent for this thing for like millions of dollars. I like the take on it for sure. It's enjoyable. If you're looking for, which I think is one of the big reasons they made it, if you've never read like, you know, superhero comics, which are the biggest kind of American comics we think of, if you're looking to get into that, DC or Marvel, I would definitely recommend trying out the Absolute Batman because it's a good starting point. There's not all the, you know, it's not bound by all the continuity and all the complicated stuff, the lore for 60 plus years. I'm curious to see how it concludes in at least the first arc in issue 5. They tease a little bit that the Joker is going to show up eventually. Obviously, it's Batman, he has to, right? But it's a very different take on him. He's not like the nutty, wacky clown guy we were familiar with. He's all serious, and I think in an interview, the writer said he's hoping to get some final boss energy from him, so it should be interesting to see how they build that out. Pretty solid comic. It's as good as, or better as a lot of the, you know, mainstream superhero stuff that's being published right now. To me, I think it's like I would say an 8 out of 10. So this channel, I'm going to cover, I love all the pop culture stuff, so I'm going to cover comics, video games, movies, TV shows, kind of just whatever piques my curiosity, and hopefully yours as well. Hopefully you guys can enjoy it, you know, get some entertainment or recommendations for what you want to try as well. If you enjoyed the video, you know, comment, like, and subscribe and all that good stuff, and yeah, just thank you for watching.